A Los Angeles County Court has ordered the medical examiner's office to seal everything having to do with the Celeste Rivas death investigation, and the medical examiner is not happy about it. We're going to look into that and a couple other breaking pieces of news over the last couple of days in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. Stick with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation here on my channel. My name is Gavin, and on this channel, we like to cut through the fluff and sensationalism of true crime. We like to get into the nitty-gritty. And if that's your kind of thing, then you've found the right place, and I'm glad you have. Hopefully you will stick around. Tonight we are talking about the case of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who was kind of a serial runaway from the Lake Elsinore area in Southern California. And her, now we've discovered, not only dismembered, but decapitated and frozen body was found in the trunk of a Tesla Model X connected to this man, David Burke, goes by the stage name David, curiously spelled D4vd. I'm too old to really understand that, though I do come from a time where Prince penned the song Nothing Compares to You and used the number 2. But I think that you shouldn't do that. I think we should follow Weird Al's advice and don't spell letters with numbers unless you're 7 or you're Prince. But either way, that's what David has done. And we're going to get into that. Before we do, hey, real quick, on the live chat, and actually if you're on the rewatch crew in the regular old chat, tell me where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear where you guys are from. Love to, I don't know. I like it. I'm an international man. I like knowing where people are from. Use GF in your comment to get my attention to anything during the live stream that you might want me to address, any questions or comments that you want me to see. Okay. A couple things before we really get into Celeste's case. I just want to reiterate a couple of announcements. Number one, a week from today, which will be Monday, December 1st, we are going to be changing our normal time from 7:30 p.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Eastern. And I've announced this before, but I'm going to continue to announce it. That's going to do a couple things. Number one, it's going to help me be able to be engaged with my family during kind of our nighttime, getting everybody ready for bed rituals. It's going to make me a more present father, which I'm really excited for. Number two, according to my analytics, that seems to be when most of my viewers are online anyway. And I think the third reason is because two very good friends of the show, Josh over at Courtroom Confidential and Joel over at Surviving the Survivor, they have shows. Joel's at 7 p.m. Eastern and Josh is at 8 p.m. Eastern. And according to my analytics, my audience watches both of those channels as well. So I don't want you to have to decide. You can just go Gavin to Joel to Josh, and it'll be an amazing night of it. It'll be like programming. It's like network TV programming. So hopefully that will go over better than a pregnant pole vaulter, and we will all just kind of slide and ease on in to our 6 p.m. slot. I just realized I have not put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Let's do that right now. Okay. Before we get too deeply and really dive deep into the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, we are going to take a look at some headlines. Here we go. True crime headlines. Pow! All right, guys. For True Crime Headlines, what I wanted to do tonight is just check in on several of the cases that we have our eye on. I think later on this week we will do more deep dives into those cases. But let's start, shall we, with Anna Kepner. This article from WFTV: Anna Kepner death on Carnival cruise ruled homicide according to her death certificate. This just came out today. Brevard County, Florida, the death of 18-year-old Anna Kepner on a Carnival cruise has been ruled a homicide according to a death certificate issued today. The certificate, provided to ABC News by Anna's family, states that her death was caused by mechanical asphyxiation. And then, I'm on the wrong one, sorry. And then in parentheses, it says suffocation. So mechanical asphyxiation. Mechanical. No, we talked about suffocation before. I'm curious the difference. I guess they're calling. Oh, it's not asphyxiation. It's mechanical asphyxia suffocation. Okay, I read that wrong. November 6th. The document specifies that Anna Kepner was mechanically asphyxiated by other persons, S in parentheses, although the time of injury remains unknown. Autopsy and toxicology reports have not been released, and the Miami-Dade medical examiner declined to comment on Monday. The FBI has not commented, did not respond to an ABC request for comment regarding the investigation into Anna's death. So that's what we know. We had heard, it had leaked out that it looked like it was going to be suffocation, and that is now official in the case of Anna Kepner. I have a couple of photos of Anna, 18-year-old Titusville, Florida girl. And it looks like, as we've said here on the channel before, looks like it's her stepbrother who is a suspect in this case. So that's headline number one. Now let's head on over to number two. This one from Bayshore Broadcasting up in Canada. This is from the 19th, but I found it interesting because I'm always looking for more information on the Jack and Lily Sullivan case. I do know that their stepdad, Dan, where are the Sullivans? Let me find my little button. Not Dan, David Martell, has done a podcast interview that I watched a brief clip of, which I might get into later on this week. But anyway, getting back to the headline, local group looks for missing Jack and Lily Sullivan in Nova Scotia. A local group that looks for missing people joined the search for Jack and Lily Sullivan this past weekend in Nova Scotia. 6-year-old Lily, 5-year-old Jack Sullivan went missing in the Lansdowne area of Nova Scotia, Lansdowne Station, I think, in May. Large-scale Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigation has been underway since, and the case has captured the nation's attention, also the attention of the nation to their south and the world. Please Bring Me Home executive director Nick Oldreeve says his group made the trip on the weekend after a donation from Barry Cruselbrink of Barry's Construction to look for Jack and Lily at the request of family members. Oldreeve notes the search would not have been possible without the donation. Oldreeve says, and I'm probably butchering his name, for that I apologize, his group was already planning to organize an arm's length search in Nova Scotia for Jesse Morrissey, 26-year-old man who went missing in 2022, adding, quote, once we spoke to Jack and Lily Sullivan's family, and you could just feel the anxiety that winter was coming and no searches were happening, and the belief that they were still in the woods. The RCMP is stating that it is not criminal in nature, says Oldreeve, who says the going theory is the kids wandered off the property. And you can continue reading that at Bayshore Broadcasting. So, yeah, it just doesn't look good for the Jack and Lily Sullivan case. I want to believe, and this is horrible, but I want to believe there's something criminal in nature, that they might be alive somewhere, that somebody has them, which is just, I mean, I don't want that for the children, but it seems like a better option than them just having wandered off and died in the woods, which just, I don't know, that's just heartbreaking to me. But that's where we are. Hey, do you remember the case? We covered it here on the channel of Isaiah Joseph Dion, a 4-year-old little boy who died in South Carolina and seems to be at the hand of his stepfather, who was a South Carolina state trooper. There's an update on this from several weeks ago that we haven't brought to the channel. I just wanted to bring it up real quick, that bond has been denied for the former trooper. Oconee County, South Carolina, Dateline. A former South Carolina trooper who was arrested in the death of 4-year-old boy requested bond during a hearing on Thursday, which would have been November 5th. Joshua Latimer and Destiny Dion were charged with homicide by CA in September after EMS was called to a home near Walhalla for a patient in cardiac arrest. 4-year-old boy Isaiah Joseph Dion was found cold to the touch. The coroner said Isaiah was malnourished and ruled his death a homicide. And yeah, we went over that, but blah, 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 blah. Latimer has been in jail without bond since his arrest in September. A judge denied his motion for bond again. Thursday's hearing. Dion, the mom, her motion for bond was denied as well. So they remain in jail, and there hasn't been an update since on that. Do you guys remember, this little Rebecca? Let me find Rebecca's little... Where's Rebecca? Where are you, Rebecca? On my little buttons. Why am I not? Rebecca Baptiste. Here she is. Do you guys remember little Rebecca Baptiste? 10 years old. Same kind of... Just look at that beautiful little child. Oh my goodness. Okay, an update. This came out a couple days ago, 4 days ago. Arizona DCS director promises changes to agency after girl's murder. Dateline Phoenix. This comes from azfamily.com. The Arizona Department of Child Safety is implementing reforms following the murders of 3 children known to the system this year, including 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste. DCS Director Katie Tack, who took the position in January, said in an exclusive interview with Arizona's Family Investigates that a review of Baptiste's case identified systemic factors that contributed to challenges in the department's decision-making and case management. That is so written. That is just, doesn't that not sound like it was written by a director of a government agency? Systemic factors that contributed to challenges in the department's decision-making and case management. I'm not feeling all that confident the changes are going to be good, but real quick, reminder, Baptiste was found with severe injuries and unresponsive in Holbrook. This was August 20th, if I remember correctly. Her dad is Richard Baptiste, and then I think stepmom is Anicia Woods, if you guys remember this. So she was found unresponsive July 27th. She died 3 days later. Yeah, so I've got the wrong date there. Doctors said she was tortured. Police body camera video captured her father and his girlfriend, Anicia Woods, telling officers about the incident. Anyway, they're saying that there are systemic issues, systemic factors, where their high turnover, low pay, intense caseloads, and overwhelmed supervisors were also noted as factors. And it always does seem to boil down to money. And I don't know if I believe that every single time, but it always seems to. So that's the update there on Rebecca's case. Last little headline coming from Crime Cod, written by Kate Bird. FBI offers $15 million for fugitive Olympian accused of drug lord murders. Dateline, Washington, D.C. U.S. federal authorities announced that Ryan James Wedding, a former Canadian Olympic snowboarder, has been indicted on murder and money laundering charges. The FBI is offering a $15 million reward for information leading to Wedding's capture. He was added to the Bureau's 10 most wanted fugitives list in March. Wedding, 44, is accused of running one of the most prolific and violent drug organizations. Attorney General Pam Bondi said she described him as Canada's largest distributor of cocaine, importing 60 metric tons annually from Mexico to the United States. They said his criminal network was extensive and violent. Before his alleged involvement in drug trafficking, he competed in the men's parallel giant slalom at the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah, finishing 24th. So there is our last headline, and let us go ahead and move on.
True crime headlines.
Pow! Okay, guys. Tonight we are covering the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I've got several notes here. I want to start. I think I'm going to go backwards in time here. Actually, before I do, just to clean the palate just a little bit, see what you guys are saying over here on the live chat. What do we got? We got Colorado in the house. We got more from Colorado. We got Seattle, Washington. We got Hildebrand, North Carolina. Tuning in from Roseville, California. Oh, on the I-80 corridor. Glorious Roseville. As you know, I am a Orangevale kid. I now live in Western PA. But Roseville, my old stomping grounds. In fact, I mean, I don't want to give it away, but when I did the Quantum Mixtape interview, that was not aboard a starship traveling throughout the galaxy. It was in old Roseville. It was pretty fun. Toronto, Colorado again in the house, Massachusetts, San Diego, Lexington, Kentucky, Norton, Virginia, South Alabama, Palm Harbor, Florida, Los Angeles. Well, Los Angeles is where this case is coming from, so I'm glad you're here. British Columbia, El Segundo, which everybody seems to say El Segundo. I just can't bring myself to do it. Twin Cities, we've got Cottage Grove, Buffalo, New York, closer to me these days. Suffolk, Virginia. You guys are all over the place, so thank you very much for tuning in. Las Vegas, we got Lincoln, Nebraska. Who do you suspect to be the second person? Well, we've got what I believe. I don't know who the second person is. But one of the things that hadn't occurred to me is this is a Tesla. Everything is recorded. There are cameras everywhere on that car. So I'm sure police know. Yeah, Redondo Beach. Oh, I think Redondo is from El Segundo, right? And then, yeah, that article did say Jack was 5, but I think Jack was only 4. I think you're correct. Annie Ruler 69. Remember the show a few months back where a local station admitted mom had been on a rented ATV the night before where the remnant of her blanket was laid in the tree? I do not remember that. I do not. Wow. And Mel's like, as a Canadian, I can assure you that we only learn the facts in dribs and drabs. It is hard. It is hard. We got Brisbane in the house. We got Washington, we got Nevada, Vancouver. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me know. We're going to go ahead and move on and get into this case because I know that's why you are here. Okay. I want to start out with a statement from the medical examiner's office. Let me bring this up. We will bring this. So this is a statement just from today. A lot of media outlets have been reporting on this. I thought that I would just go right to the horse's mouth, cut through the fluff. So November 24th, at 10:54 a.m. on Friday, November 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner, the department, received a court order initiated by the Los Angeles Police Department, the LAPD, to place a security hold on medical examiner case number 2025-14252 Celeste Rivas Hernandez. No records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and medical examiner report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. And we reported on this on Friday when it became unsearchable. You could not find the case by searching the case number or the name. Okay, quote, "The department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives," said Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Ode Ukpo. Continuing the quote, since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement request. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other counties and has not been proven to improve outcomes in the legal system. We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains in this case. Close quote. The department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September 15th, which was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. The department understands the public's interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. And then for questions about the court order, timeline, and the law enforcement investigation into this death, please contact the LAPD. Basically saying, hey, leave me alone. I don't want to do this. I want to give you the information. I want to release the cause and manner of death. I want to release all the information, but the court is not letting me do that. So that brings me over to a report from TMZ, which, I know that TMZ, guys, I know that TMZ is really kind of a tabloid celebrity news kind of a publication. I get it. It's not like New York Times here or, LA Times or whatever. However, I've been watching their coverage of this and I think they've been doing a good job. So until they prove to me that they're not, I actually think that they are probably the ones with one of the ones with the best information on the street. So this is a report from the 22nd. This would be Saturday. Celeste Rivas's body was discovered frozen, cause of death likely undetermined. Okay. Celeste Rivas's body had been frozen, and as a result, it looks the LA County Medical Examiner will not be able to establish a cause of death. Sources directly connected to the investigation tell TMZ. Let's talk about unnamed sources. I hate unnamed sources, especially if it's one source. However, it has been commonplace in media here in the United States now for 40 years to use unnamed sources. And it boils down to whether you believe the media outlet, if these sources are legit. I am of the belief that they are. I think that I think that they've probably got an inside source here, which is what journalists are supposed to do. It's a good thing. Okay, according to those sources, continues the article, the medical examiner received the body in horrendous condition. It was decapitated, and while the torso was intact, the limbs had been removed and cut into multiple pieces, which takes, it takes a lot of intestinal fortitude, I would imagine, to do something like that. We're told all of the body parts were partially frozen and had apparently been thawing out while sitting in the trunk of David's Tesla. Remember, David's vehicle had not been moved for several days when it was parked in a Hollywood Hills street near his rental home, which resulted in it getting towed and then the body being found. As TMZ reported, Celeste's body was in such bad shape initially, investigators did not know if it was male or female. When the body was received by the ME's office, the initial determination was this was a victim of an apparent homicide, but our sources say the ME is now having trouble establishing an official manner or cause of death, and quote, it will most likely be undetermined. Hey, let's see. Let me finish the article, and then I have some thoughts on frozen bodies, okay? Other sources connected to the investigation tell TMZ the LAPD's robbery homicide division is reviewing Celeste's death as a homicide, and even if the official cause of death is undetermined, authorities can move forward with an arrest. Yes, they can. TMZ broke the story. David is now considered a suspect in Celeste's death. What's more, TMZ has learned there's a second suspect who authorities believe helped David in the dismemberment of Celeste's body. Remember, Teslas record everything, guys. There are front-facing cameras, there are rear-facing cameras, there are rear side-facing cameras. Talk about just the dumbest criminal to choose that place to hide a body. It's recorded. It is recorded. And my imagination is just going, wow, like I hadn't even thought of this. When we lived back in California and I worked for LH Labs, I drove a Tesla Model S. Yeah, and it was that one was pre self-driving, but the technology on that thing, yeah, it didn't occur to me that not only would the LAPD be able to issue warrants to cell phone companies and, oh, like security camera footage and stuff like that, but directly to Tesla. They may not have even had to download it off of the car. They may have been able to get it directly from Tesla corporate. So, yeah. Let me continue with this. Mark Garagos appeared on the most recent Two Angry Men podcast and said he knows the name of the second suspect, and authorities have told him this person might be involved before, during, and after Celeste's death. We're going to watch a clip of that, okay? TMZ also broke the story. A critical part of the case involves a trip investigators say David took to a remote area of Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night back in the spring where he spent 2 hours. Now, if I remember my California geography, which I really don't, I believe Santa Barbara is north of the LA basin on the coast. Let me just go to maps real quick. Maps. So, yes. Okay. Oh, yeah, barely north. So let me bring it up over here. So the Los Angeles area is down here. We're going to zoom up. Santa Barbara is along the coast north of Los Angeles. By the way, guys, if you ever just want to visit maybe the most picturesque place on earth, it's got to be the slow area, San Luis Obispo. They say San Luis Obispo there, San Luis Obispo, and Morro Bay. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Santa Barbara, I think, is a close second. It's just, yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. But apparently, they took a trip up to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night back in the spring, and they believe, according to reports before, Celeste was murdered in the spring and she has been frozen ever since. Now, before we get to, let's see, there's a little bit more. Let's see. If Celeste's body was taken to that area months before it was discovered in LA, it seems the operating theory is the body parts were put in some sort of freezer for a long time before it ended up in David's Tesla in the late summer. Yeah. Okay. Before we watch that clip, let me talk about the frozen body. Okay. You guys may remember that I have covered at length a case so egregious that it has stuck with me for a long, long time. And that is the case of Amanda Lynn Winkowski. If you join me over on my website, Amanda was killed back in 2008. Okay. And this is the first, I didn't push the right button. There we go. Amanda went missing in December of 2008, and her body was not found until into the second week of January 2009. She was frozen solid, discarded into an outdoor trash can. She was naked. She was upside down. It's a horrible, horrible story. However, I learned a lot on that story. I've become close with her family, her sister, her mother, her brothers, several people around that story. It's just such an egregious story. Check it out. If you haven't seen my coverage of this yet, this is way back in the day, and there's so many case documents on it, so many news stories. But being that Celeste's body was frozen may give the medical examiner more ability and a greater chance of success with toxicology, because in the TMZ article, it says that her body was still partially frozen. That we thaw from the outside in, right? So there might still be urine analysis, urine that was frozen, blood that was frozen, bile that was frozen. There could be all sorts of cardiac blood that was frozen, femoral blood that may have still been frozen. So we may, because of this, they may, I should say, the medical examiner's office and investigators, they may have a chance at getting good toxicology on this, which I think, I don't think that, I just don't think that there was an overdose here. I call it a hunch. You don't hide an overdose by chopping somebody up into bits um, and freezing them for months. You don't do that, right? Who does that? I mean, stupid people do, and it's possible, but I don't think it's probable. I think it's more probable that there was an actual murder, like a murder, not an overdose murder, a hands-on murder. And proving that there was no overdose, I think, would go a long way in the investigation. Okay, so that's just my thought about it. But let me take you over to. I didn't get a button ready. It's this. Okay, this is about a 6-minute clip from the Two Angry Men podcast. Mark Garagos is the gray-haired man with the blue background, and then what's his name from TMZ? Why can't I remember his name? I can't. I'm blanking. It doesn't matter. But Mark Garagos is a longtime Los Angeles County attorney. He is an attorney to the stars. He is a defense attorney. His list of clients is long. He's highly paid. He's highly connected. And that's the thing, right? Now, TMZ, while being tabloidish in nature, they have proven themselves to be pretty darn good investigators too. So I just clipped about 6 minutes out of the Two Angry Men podcast. You can get this on tmz.com, but let's have a listen to what they're talking about.
Let me tell you what we know, because it aligns with what you just said, that in the spring, David took a trip to a very remote area of Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night and spent several hours there. We have also been told, yes, there is another suspect, but the suspect is...
Sorry, it's Harvey Levin or Levin, right? That's who's speaking here.
Is somebody they believe helped him dismember the body, because what we were told by multiple sources is they believe that more than one person dismembered the body. Now, I don't think they can conclude that just by looking at it. I mean, look, Jeffrey Dahmer dismembered a body completely, and he did it alone. So there's some reason they're saying he had help, and it's not just the way the body was cut up. So here's my theory, and I've got a little bit of evidence on this too, but my theory is that they may have done this in Santa Barbara County, and the reason there may be another suspect is that, yes, there's cell phone data, but I think more important, there might be Tesla video. Remember, Tesla has cameras on the car, and the LAPD, we're told, has gained access to that data and clearly that video. What if there is video of not just David in the car, but a second person in the car? And then the question, do they have any evidence the body was possibly dismembered there? I'm going to tell you something, and I cannot be more specific, but there was an offhanded comment made to me by somebody.
Let me address this question by Garth B. Nutt, okay? So I just don't want to overstate any connection that I have to Tesla. I have no inside knowledge. I have very little inside knowledge of Tesla, very little. Okay. But here's the thing, part of the user agreement of driving a Tesla is that you share data back to Tesla. So can an operator disable cameras? It's possible that the interface might be able to disable cameras. Maybe. But I don't think it actually does, because those cameras are part of the sensing system in the self-driving features. It's part of it. And so all of that has to be processed. Some of it is processed actually in real time, it's processed on board the Tesla. But then I believe it's all uploaded to Tesla for analysis later on. So even if they disabled it, I still think that there is a recording out of that Tesla.
Connected to all of this about possibly hiding the body there. I mean, just the words hiding the body. And it was posed kind of as a hypothetical, but it's somebody with some knowledge. And so what I'm thinking is that I don't think they took Celeste to Santa Barbara County and killed her, if that's indeed what happened to Celeste. Whatever happened probably happened somewhere else, maybe in LA, and that the body was taken to Santa Barbara County, and maybe the body was dismembered there. Now, what I can't answer is, how does it then end up in his trunk? And that I can't figure out back in Los Angeles. But that Santa Barbara trip is the key to this case, Mark. I'm telling you, I've been on the phone personally on this one, and that Santa Barbara trip is the key.
Yeah, and by the way, the whiplash that I've talked about in terms of the reporting on this as well, that whiplash also had to do with, at first, they weren't even sure that it was dismembered because of the degradation. And so that took a little while, which was another reason they were being so kind of tight and close to the vest, so to speak. But it wasn't just, I'm told, it was not just the trip itself, it was the confirmation of the social media. And for those who think that, and I know I've heard people talk about this, and people who are frequently on social media, they think that the phone is the only thing that is tracking you. But when you post that, whether it's posting on a phone or anything else, the use of the social media platform itself is basically something that is utilized as well, that can determine your location. And so if you've got that, you've got your phone, you've got a time when you post some kind of a social media story, if you will. All of these things have now been utilized, and is one of the reasons it's taken so long, because search warrants have been executed on a number of these platforms or providers. And
yeah, this is a very good, and like, again, this is coming from a criminal defense attorney, right? With seriously a CV as long as my arm. I've got long arms. I wish they were longer, but I mean, this guy has so much experience. The digital forensics on this that the LAPD, I'm sure, has access to from so many warrants that they've obtained, including the car, including the phones, including any social media, anything that they did. I think they've got so much digital evidence that it's going to be overwhelming when it comes to the prosecution.
they were waiting to get back the information. They also clearly have yet another person that is a target of this, not just David, but they've got somebody else. And I haven't heard yet whether that person is talking or cooperating. But if it's anything like the feds, the first person in is the person who's going to try to talk or cut a deal.
We need to talk about this. So my information is that the other suspect and or suspects has to do with dismembering the body. Is your information that this could actually have to do with her death?
Yeah, and I've got a name, but I'm not going to put it out there. I've already been told a name as well. and
A name of a suspect
of another person besides him.
in
And
connection with the death or the dismemberment.
but they're not ruling anything out. I mean, everything is on the table. They have kept this wide open because they believe, and they believed since the beginning, since the get-go, that there was more than one person involved. Which, by the way, you and I had talked about this way back when, that it appeared that there had to be more people than just David who were involved at least, or knew something that was going on. That's still a working hypothesis, and I know that they focused in at least secondarily and have not ruled anything out as to another person.
All right. So, yeah, no, the question from before is, who do I think the other person is? I don't even know David's shtick. I don't know anything about him other than you had a house leased for him in the Hollywood Hills. He drove a Tesla Model X and there was a body found in the trunk. That's all I know about his shtick. So I have no idea who on his crew, who in his inner circle he would trust with the disposal of a body, assuming he did it, of course. This is all alleged. This is all just suspected. Yeah, I have no idea. Now, there was one other question that I think is a good question that I wanted to bring up from Meredith. If she was frozen, how was she so decomposed? That Meredith, that has to do with the fact that the body cools. It's a heat transfer issue, right? So the body, warms from the outside in. So what I'm saying is they said that there were still frozen pieces, and I would imagine that that is in the core. The core of each piece may have still been frozen. So that means the bladder, that means the gallbladder, that means intestines, that means the liver. But at the same time, I mean, it obviously started to smell, so decomp was happening on the outer pieces, or maybe even on smaller pieces, right? Pieces that, because I'm just theorizing here, but if it's all put together in like one big bundle, then it will act as one big, heat transfer. What's the word that I'm looking for? One big unit of cold that needs to transfer heat. But if there are multiple bags, maybe there's something small, like, and I'm sorry about this because it does seem so disrespectful, and I mean no disrespect to our victim, but something small like fingers or hands or feet or something like that, that are by themselves, they could they could warm faster, they could start to decompose sooner, whereas the larger pieces might stay frozen. So, but that's all just complete conjecture. And again, I mean no disrespect to our victim here, because she is a victim. Content Angel 2131 says Garagos knows the Santa Barbara system too because he repped Michael Jackson. That's right. Yeah, he was Michael Jackson's attorney. Content Angel, so your Tesla footage isn't just available to the driver. I thought it worked like DVR. So again, not tons of inside information here, but as a data analyst, thinking about how I would design the system, no, I would make it so that footage is uploaded on the frequent anytime there's a good internet connection. And I'm not sure if Teslas are now on 5G or if they're still LTE. I think they're 5G. So anytime they're charging, I would have it uploading if I designed that system. So yeah, like, don't commit crime around a Tesla. Don't do that. You know what? Here's an idea. Just don't commit crime. Just don't do that. That's what we should do. Okay, so let me take you over to this next article. Also from TMZ, this one from yesterday. Bring this up. House David rented had freezer. Points of interest for cops. This is again TMZ. Singer David, a suspect in the presumed homicide of Celeste Rivas, had a freezer large enough to store a body, a relevant fact since her body had apparently been frozen for months. I doubt that it would be in that freezer. Now listen, I want that kitchen. Oh my goodness. What have we got? We've got 4 ovens. We've got, looks like, oh my goodness, trash compactor, dishwasher, convection microwave, got a TV in there, got that amazing refrigerator freezer. You know, our kitchen was remodeled. Our house was built in 1903, and our kitchen was remodeled in like 1996. So it looks old, right? It's a 30-year-old kitchen. But the previous owners did us the service of putting 3 ovens in our kitchen. And you might ask yourself, why would anybody need 3 ovens? I'm telling you, it is the most amazing thing. Add in the pizza oven, and we got 4 ovens, man. We got 4 ovens, and we've got Thanksgiving coming up. Dude, I'm I love our kitchen. You know what I love? I love this kitchen more though. Grass is always greener, right, Gavin? Oh, Gavin. Yeah, that's right. It was a tangent. I apologize. But yeah. Okay. I don't think that they would be storing Celeste in the kitchen freezer, but okay. Check out this photo of David's rental home. It was taken a few years ago, and it shows a kitchen with a KitchenAid refrigerator freezer. The freezer side, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Okay. However, there's one other. There was one other that I wanted. This right here, right? There's also a video that has surfaced on social media from September 4th, 2024, showing David in a house, not his rental, with an appliance box behind him. The box appears to be a convertible chest freezer with a removable storage basket. Has a capacity of 7 cubic feet. By the way, the last video of Celeste we've seen was September 2024. We don't know if this freezer has any connection to the case, but the timing is off. This is kind of pretty suspicious journalism. And here I am reading it. Remember, authorities say David went to a remote area of Santa Barbara County in spring 2025, and that's where they believe Celeste's body was dismembered. As we reported, authorities believe the body had been frozen for an extended period of time. So anyway, what is this? Honestly, please don't tell me. Huh? What? Okay. Anyway, I wanted to bring you that story. So that is the update that we have so far on Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Let me bring her photo up one more time, and let's just go and check in on your comments, see if there's anything. Content Angel 2131. Wow, what a great set of data. I knew none of this. Love how you put it all together. Thank you. If you think it's a murder, what's your theory on motive? Okay, Meredith, great question. So, as you know, and we talked to Josh Ritter about this just last week, motive is not something that has to be proven in court. However, it is something that that really helps with juries. Juries love it. Juries love a motive. We all love a motive. And I was on with Vinny Politan. He asked me the same question about the motive in which case were we talking? Kata Scott, right? I think in the case of Celeste, a couple of things. Number one, she was a 14-year-old girl, and she was starting to say things publicly like David was R-wording children, essaying children. We've seen the clip, right? It was definitely hers, definitely him. Was she becoming a little bit of a problem? Was she becoming a little more assertive? Maybe it was something that was done accidentally in the course of essaying her. Again, 20 years old, she was 14. Their relationship is suspicious and should be looked into for sure. So I guess to answer your question, I don't know, but I suspect one of two things. One, she was becoming more of a problem, or two, it was done in the heat of passion. So, yeah. Matthew says, Gavin, how old was Celeste, and would that have anything to do with her being murdered? Yeah, she was 14. She was 14 when she was murdered. I think she was found around her 15th birthday. Maybe like a day or two after, something like that. Somebody remind me, but she was 14 when she was murdered. David was 20. When they started their relationship, he was 18 and she was 12. Whatever that relationship was, it could have been innocent. I don't know. But yeah, I think that probably has a lot to do with her being murdered. Also, listen, I've said this a million times. What was the name of the little girl down in Houston? Jocelyn Nungary. Do you remember that story? Do you remember a little Jocelyn Nungary who snuck out? She snuck out of her Houston area apartment to go to the 7-Eleven, and she was never seen again. Two men, two, I think, Venezolanos, if I remember correctly, murdered her, right? She thought that she was perfectly safe just walking to the 7-Eleven. And this little girl, beautiful little girl, right? So much, so much in her future that so much that could have been. I think had no idea how much violence a man can perpetrate, I just don't think that she understood because of her own youth and ignorance. What is that line from, let's see, from Cat Stevens? You're too young, that's your fault. There's so much you need to know, right? Youth, inexperience, and just absolute no, they're not dill holes, they're just ignorant. And I'm talking like me and when I was that age, and our children and everybody I've ever known, they just don't understand. And young women, girls need to understand that there are predators out there that can do so much violence. So much violence. Yeah. Denise White, 8055. Oh, we're running out of time. So this will be our last comment, and then we're going to get to 3 questions. Where is her family? Do they care? Yeah, she was a habitual runaway. It does seem like there were some family issues at home. They're in Lake Elsinore, California, kind of north of the LA basin, if I remember, again, my geography correctly. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. All right, guys. It's time for 3 questions.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! Okay, guys, 3 questions. 3 questions. This is the deal, okay? You can ask me any question you want. Nothing's off the table, as evidenced by like the funniest sex question that we had last week. But nothing's off the table, but here are the rules. You can't ask me the questions in the live stream. You got to email it to me. 3 questions at gavinfish.com, spelled out THREE questions at gavinfish.com. And as they come in, I will answer them. So where do we need to go? We need to go right over here. So if you have questions for me, it could be anything, send them in. Where am I trying to go? First question. Question number 1. Do you plan to ever permanently return to California? Why or why not? It's not out of the question. It's not out of the question. Kimberly and I are both pretty adventurous people. We've moved around a lot. The house that we live in now, the place that we have lived over 8 years. The longest we've ever stayed in any home, it's the longest by far. Previous to that, our record was 3 years. We've been married 26. I think I always forget this, but I think in our 26 years of marriage, we have lived in 14 homes. So we move around quite a bit. Now, my parents are aging. You guys know that my dad has been battling lymphoma for the last about 7 years now. And going back for my birthday to visit my parents was terrific to spend some time. We used to live right around the corner from them. And, we lived in 2 houses right around the corner from them. The last house that we lived in California was maybe 3 miles away. So the idea of moving back to California to be close to my parents and close to Kimberly's parents is something that is becoming more important the older they get. Having said that, out here in Western PA, we live in a beautiful home that we love. That is everything I ever wanted. It's way more than Kimberly ever wanted. She's wanted out since the day we moved in. But to get a house even a quarter of this size in the area where we would like to live, that is an expensive proposition. It's very expensive. So in order to do it, there would have to be some incentive, some financial incentive to do it as well. So that's the why or why not. Also, I wouldn't mind living in Timbuktu. I'd love to live in Argentina again. We visited Portugal. I'd love to live in Portugal. There are places here in the United States I'd love to live. We are very adventurous people, and nothing's off the table for us. And anytime that we say, "Hey, this is our last home," it never is. Never is. We're rolling stones, Kimberly and I. Question number 2. Have you ever been to my native country of Bulgaria, and do you know where it is located? I do know where Bulgaria is located. It's in the Balkans. I think the closest I've ever been to Bulgaria is probably Bucharest, which is in Romania. I've been to Brasov in Romania, and Bucharest are the 2 places that I've spent any time anywhere near the Balkans. I think Romania is still part of the Balkans. I do have a nephew who spent time as a missionary in Albania and North Macedonia. I have a cousin whose son is doing the same thing right now in North Macedonia. So yeah, I'm really familiar with the Balkans, and I think they're beautiful. In fact, Romania is one of the countries that Kimberly and I would consider living in, as I speak some Romantic languages. Romanian is unlike many languages in the area that are more Slavically based. Romania is a Romantic language. So I used to employ so many people from Romania, and it was really fun because we could speak to one another. I would speak to them in Spanish or Italian. They would speak to me in Romanian, and we could hold simple conversations with one another. So that's one of the places that I would definitely consider living one of these days. So yeah, I definitely know where Bulgaria is. When I was a kid, I thought Bulgaria was a place where it was a kingdom where children were not allowed, and they were caught by a child catcher and imprisoned. But it turns out that is Vulgaria from the classic children's tale, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Bulgaria is a very different place. Where was your first date with your wife? Okay, I'm running out of time, so I'm trying to keep this to about an hour. Got a couple minutes. Kimberly told me to just be simple about this, okay? But our first date was amazing. Okay? Our first date was amazing. Here was the deal. Okay, I need to set this up. First of all, I had spent about 4.5 years moping. 2 of those years, of course, were in Argentina. I was moping. And then 2.5 of those years were back stateside, moping, until the day I met this heavenly creature on earth named Kimberly Compton. And we met on a Sunday. Okay? On that Sunday, it was the first Sunday in June of 1999. I don't remember the exact date. First Sunday in June. I went to a new church, and I was with my new roommate. We had moved into an apartment together in Fair Oaks, California, and there in Fair Oaks, that might be Carmichael at that point, but that in that area, there was the church that we went to, and I was chatting with my roommate. We were just kind of getting to know each other. We had gone to school together a little bit, and in walks this amazing woman, very different from anybody else I had ever seen in my life. It was she carried herself tall. Her shoulders were tucked back and her chin was up, and she knew exactly who she was. And she knew exactly how valuable she was. And I saw it. I saw her. I saw it as in the behavior. And I said, in that very moment to my roommate, I'm going to ask her to marry me. And then he laughed, and I was dead serious. I saw exactly what I wanted to see. Okay. Now, imagine my surprise now we chatted that day at church. There was like a little activity, and she was friends with a friend of mine, and we were chatting. She was amazing. She was everything that I wanted, everything that I ever thought I wanted. Okay. The next day, we had a little church activity again, and we were going to go roller skating. For those of you in the Sacramento area, Roseville, it was not Roller King out in Roseville. It was, what was it called? Is it Sunrise Rollerland in Citrus Heights is where we were going to go roller skating as a little church, young single adult group. I got there early, excited because Kimberly Compton said she was going to be there. And I was going to try to hold her hand. We're going to roller skate, right? So anyway, she walks in holding the hand of another guy that I did not know. And I was like devastated. I was devastated. She had a boyfriend. And so I went to the activity, but about 10 minutes in, I was just so brokenhearted that I left. Tried not to pout, tried to be a good sport, just like really slyly head on out, get on home, because I was just heartbroken. Okay, so that was Monday. Tuesday morning, I woke up and I was so brokenhearted that this girl that I wanted to ask to marry me after seeing her for the first time had a boyfriend, that I called in sick to work. I called in sick. Okay, this is going on too long, but this is how it went. So that was Tuesday. At about 5:00 in the afternoon, when our mutual friend Tiffany came home, I called her up, and I asked her if she just wanted to go grab dinner or something. So we did. We went out to dinner, and we were buddies. And I was obviously moping. I was obviously sad. And Tiffany is like, okay, what's the problem, Gavin? And I was like, Kimberly has a boyfriend. I want to ask her to marry me. And Tiffany told me that that if I called her and invited her over, she would come. And I was afraid, but I'd been moping for 4.5 years, guys. Been moping. And uncharacteristically me, I took Tiffany's advice and I called Kimberly, said, hey, Tiffany and her boyfriend are coming over tonight. We're just going to like swim and hang out in the hot tub. Do you want to come? And she said, yeah. So that was Tuesday night. Okay. So then the four of us are there. We're hanging out and we're having a good time. And Tiffany's like, hey, David and I are going to Half Moon Bay tomorrow. Why don't you guys come? We're like, yeah, that sounds fun. Half Moon Bay is south of San Francisco, north of Monterey Bay. And David was a private pilot. I was not at this point. In fact, the idea of learning to fly an airplane, I thought was only reserved for people in the Air Force. And their plan was they were going to fly from Sacramento down to Half Moon Bay. And David had rented a little plane. And so I asked Kimberly, do you want to come? And she said, yeah. So the next day I go to work. I'm feeling better. I, really looking forward to the evening when we go on our date. I rush home from work. I get ready. I run over to Kimberly's house. I pick her up. She's looking great. And we run over to Sacramento Executive Airport, and David and Tiffany are already there. They've already pre-flighted the aircraft. And I don't want you to think that this was like a Pretty Woman moment, like this was a Learjet or something. This was an old 1950s model Cessna Skylane. And it's Kimberly likes to describe it as a Volkswagen Beetle with wings. Small, 4-place. It's much better than a Volkswagen Beetle with wings, but that's what she likes to say. She thought she was doing a Pretty Woman thing. But anyway, we get in the plane. We take off out of Sacramento very, very close to sunset, right? It's late. Well, very close. It's within a couple hours, an hour, maybe, something like that. And we head down south, and David flies us the most picturesque route just down over Oakland. We go across the Bay Bridge, and just as we're crossing the Golden Gate Bridge, the sun is setting over the Golden Gate Bridge. And there we are flying into the sun as it sets, going Golden Gate Bridge, going over it, and then we turn left and head south this Half Moon Bay, where we land in the dark, tie down the plane, and we just walked to a pizza place right off of the airport, grabbed a pizza, and then went down to the harbor, sat on the dock with our feet in the water, and ate pizza. That was our first date. That was a good date. So our first date was Half Moon Bay, California. And I think maybe the swimming you don't count as the first date. This was our first date. That was also the time that I was like, hey, I could learn to fly an airplane. I really like this. So that was that. And that is 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! Okay, guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. I went a few minutes over. We just had a lot to cover tonight, but I'm glad that you stuck with me to the end. Remember that we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we are on X, we're on all the socials, and on Facebook, you're always welcome to join us in the fish tank. All you have to do is go to my website, gavinfish.com. Let me see if I can get to it. And click up on this little link that will take you to the fish tank. You're cordially invited. Also, gavinfish.com is a terrific spot to get information on very important cases like Amanda Winkowski's. 6 p.m. is where we're going to start on December 1st, so don't forget that. And with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.